That's fair.
We are at the Larry Bruno Foundation. Steve Higgins and Dwight Collins. Dwight Collins, of course, Beaver Falls University at Pittsburgh, the NFL. When you think of Coach Bruno, what do you think about when you think about Dwight Collins? Go ahead, Stevie.
I can remember how excited Coach was when Dwight was young coming up, and I was in high school, and he was in junior high, and they had a pretty good team. And I could remember back then the junior high team certain times would line up along the practice field, and they would watch us practice. They probably did the same thing when Dwight was in high school. And I could remember looking over at that junior high team and thinking, oh my goodness, these guys are eyeing us up here, you know. There's some players over there, you know, and that's kind of the first time I remember seeing Dwight on the field. And here I didn't realize, because Dwight was always so much younger than me. Growing up in Beaver Falls, you know, we all knew each other. We all watched each other play ball on the streets and junior basketeers, 15th Street Playground, wherever. And Dwight always seemed a lot younger than me. And then I realized the year after I graduated, he was on the varsity team playing varsity football, which was amazing at Beaver Falls at that time.
Larry Bruno, let's talk about the coach, that time in your life, and obviously not necessarily a father figure, but a mentor, a coach. What about Larry Bruno there, Dwight?
Trusted him. And he was straight up with me. I knew he was a great guy. I mean, I just trusted him. He's just a good guy to me. At that time, I'm quiet. I don't do a lot of talking. I'm not outgoing unless I know you. If I know you, I act a fool, then you tell me I talk too damn much. But I just trusted him. A lot of that was back in the day. A lot of things were going on, and I just trusted him.
Well, obviously it worked, but here's what blows my mind, and we had a chance to talk a little while ago. Football wasn't your first love.
No.
Baseball.
Baseball. I like baseball. Basketball too short, but I like baseball. And I only play football because my brother called me a sissy, and I didn't like that. I'm not a sissy.
You wanted to prove him wrong.
I was going to prove it wrong.
Let me add something to this. Dwight is remembered for hitting some ticker tape shots at the high school. He did have brief stints on, you correct me, Dwight, Junior Legion and high school maybe. I think you played Junior Legion one year, didn't you, Dwight?
Baseball. Oh, yeah. Baseball, yeah. I played Legion in high school. I wish I would have played for the high school team. I played for the high school team, but then I didn't want to play anymore because the coach, I didn't care for him because of the comment that he made. We're playing, older group. We're playing up in Newcastle for the conference championship. We lose 2-1, and I'm the only one that scored the run. So he gets the man. You need to pick up your mind what sport to play. You don't tell me what sport to play, man. I told my dad, and back then, my dad's a steel mill worker. My dad said, piss on him, play in the summertime. And that was my dad's first love. So I played with I played for his older brother, Colts and Legion, him and Shiro.
Mm-hmm. Well, and even going back to Little League, Rob, they had a great team in Little League, which my brother Greg played with Dwight. And they were the champs. And I think of the decade of the 70s, that might have been arguably the best Little League team was that year that Dwight and them played. What was the name of the team, Dwight? Optimus. And I hear a lot about him in here. I hear stories about him. Mm-hmm. But when you ask people around town, when Dwight was an All-American in football and he was All-State in basketball, and people were talking about Dwight, how great he was, when someone says, what was his best sport? You know what the answer was? Baseball. Baseball. Everyone knew that he was so talented in baseball. But you know what? You can only play so much. The kid can only. He still has records in track, for crying out loud. You still have 2024.
Okay, go ahead. Let's fast forward. We've got a little bit of time left here. So you end up going to Pitt. And when you go to Pitt, the timeline, there are players like Hugh Green, Ricky Jackson, Moose Moss, Jimbo Covert, Dan Marino, from Johnny Majors, just years removed, national championship, Tony Dorsett, Jackie Sherrill, Foge Fazio. What a special time and an eclectic group of talent, Dwight.
No question. 23 seniors got graduated, going to the pros. Got drafted in, I don't know how long they played. They got drafted. Everybody talks about, you didn't play long. You didn't do this, you didn't do that. You never went there. So I don't really so I don't really get into that because people want to take pot shots and think that hurts my feelings. That doesn't hurt my feelings. I could care less.
You know, I alluded to this earlier. I met him for the first time. I used to work in this town, and I would go to Geneva to work out. And he was a 17 or 18-year-old track guy at Beaver Falls, and I knew who he was. And I said hello, and just as shy and reserved as he is now. Believe me, if it wasn't for Steve Higgins, he's not here doing this. If it wasn't for his mother, who's still with us, God bless her. Hello, Mrs. Collins. He wouldn't be here doing this. You just like to play, but it was never about you or the headlines or anything. It was just about doing what you like to do.
Yeah, everybody thought that, even my teammates. I was just out there playing. I talk about now the family, the unity that, growing up and telling people this is a fraternity, man. I'll never forget any of it. I can tell you about so much, and so I will be here till midnight, but I just love to play. And that's what I do now. I love being down there. I get excited and try to stay in some kind of shape. I'm down there doing things with those kids now. I just love being around it. It just brings so much to a person. And show what your capabilities are. Regardless whether you play football or not, I'm still a person. I still can do other things, and I don't like all that makeup. Just like, it doesn't make sense. If one man worth $1 million, another man is. If it's a team sport, I don't care what you say, because you can't do nothing unless he does his job.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing Coach Bruno taught me. It's all 11. But even though I had to be in the locker room, if the meeting was at 7:30, I had to be there at quarter after.
Just so he knew you were there.
Look out.
Where's Dwight?
No, he would just look out and see if I was sitting there by myself. And I was sitting there, and he'd go back in his office and sit there. He played a game with me all the time, like the Dwight. I hated that. He would never do it until he needed me to do something.
It got done.
But you know what? This guy, with all the talent and all the things that he can do, he was happy what he just said, being part of the fraternity. And that's part of the story that we tell down here. When we told the kids that came in this year that hadn't had a victory all year, and we told them to keep their chin up, you know why? Because what Dwight just said, you're part of a fraternity. We've been playing football in this city for 124 years. You're part of a 124-year fraternity.
Yep.
Okay? Mm-hmm. And Dwight, being the student of the game that he is and that he was, he bought into it. And that's why he had the success that he had. When people ask me, how did you, do, what do you attribute your success to, whatever, you listen to your parents. You listen to your coaches,
right,
your teachers. And we had the culture when we were in school in the 70s. It was a winning culture. And Dwight was a student of the game just like I was. And I'm so happy to hear him say what he said.
Your mom still means so much to you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's my number one fan there.
From day one, my baby, you're going to Pitt, not like your brother Utah, where I couldn't see you play. Just have to ask one last thing. I love Pitt. What's it going to do, or what's it going to take for them to actually get that national prominence again? And do you think not having a stadium on campus is one of the reasons why so many young athletes are going elsewhere?
Yes. Them not having anything to bring in a blue chipper. Back in the day, we were going there because they were nationally ranked. Because this kid went there, that kid went there, this kid. Why would I got to leave home to play football, top-notch football? Stay home, play football, still get to come down here. My biggest thing was come home we played on Saturday. So I got to come home every Friday night and I was late because we had practice and things. So I would just walk around town and that would fire me up. My dad would have to drive me to Pitt, back to Pitt every morning. It's crazy.
I get it, man. And the other thing, and you kind of told me this before, but I'm going to bring it up because I've often said in all these conversations, I still think Dwight. You mentioned the Ty Laws and the Darrell Revises and all these players who went on and played incredibly well at the professional level. When you got drafted by Minnesota, with all due respect, and you told me this, and now it makes all the sense in the world, you just didn't really want to play the game anymore.
Didn't care. I was just going to prove to you that I could play with him, and I know I could. And if I would have put a little bit more into it, I would have came out with something else. But throughout you got to have good backing. when you're playing, you know, in the league and moving up the ladder and surrounding yourself with good people.
Well, you're good people. God bless you, brother. All right, Larry Bruno Foundation, magicalcoach.org. And he was a incredibly magically talented player for sure. Big part of the folklore of this region and football. He is Dwight Collins.